new fears of more homeowners insurance price hikes that could be spread across the state.
Is it going to be like crazy with all of the construction that's going on?
It's hard to describe the destruction down here. I mean, it's just so devastating.
To me, in my head, I have 10 years.
What? 10 years?
Yeah. I think 10 years before it will seem somewhat normal over there.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's no words to even describe how heartbreaking. That's a life. That's your entire life.
Once things really do get busy and it becomes like a demand for contractors, all the supply chains are going to go crazy.
Right.
So lumber, cement,
they'll go
wire,
up in price?
Oh my gosh, it's going to skyrocket. Hey guys, welcome back to the Hey Mike podcast. Today we're going to do something different. Me and Pando, we were actually talking in the office earlier, and he was asking questions about the fires that are going on and the rebuilding process. And he kind of wanted my take on what that process would be like. And so he kind of had some questions, and I said, let's do a podcast. Let's talk about it, because I think there's going to be a lot of people who are curious about some of this stuff from our perspective, at least as a builder. And yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, like I guess the first question I have really is like, is it going to be like crazy with all of the construction that's going on? Do you think it all happen at once, or?
For one, I think it's going to be, I do think it's going to be crazy when we get to that point. But I think for now, we're a long ways away.
And why? What makes us a long ways away? Is it insurance, or is it just the process of the rebuild?
I think both. I think the fact that people have to go through their insurance company, and then the other part is going to be environmental and what the cities are going to require for those homeowners to do. And one of the first steps is going to be they have to clean up all the sites. And the environmental companies will come in and they'll survey the land, and they'll have instructions of what needs to be cleaned up, how it needs to be cleaned up, where it's going. And you physically have to get a permit for that. So you just can't go in.
You have to get a permit just to clean up?
Just to clean up. Yeah.
What is that permit?
It's an environmental cleanup permit. So you'll issue it. So you'll go to your architect, and then they'll go to the city and they'll say, okay, well, this is the first step. We need to evaluate the damage to the slab. If there's a slab left, and can you keep it? Are you ripping it out? And then are there contaminations in the soil around the property? And then at that point, you might have to just scrape everything, meaning like take everything out. And then you might have to remove some of the soil as well. And then that means you have to bring back fresh soil.
So I have a question for you, and maybe I'm thinking ahead, but what about a home that wasn't burned but is surrounded by all homes that burned, and maybe it's still standing, but is there a lot of damage done to that surviving house?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be the same thing. I mean, they might have to go through environmental as well. Like the smoke damage can be just as bad as the actual fire. So all of the glass will get etched, and the smoke will permeate in there, and you'll never be able to get rid of it. The drywall, it will go through that. It will go into the studs, and you'll just never get rid of the smell. And it's kind of like I'm not an expert in this, but I believe there's like toxins in the smell, and you don't want those to be released back into the home. So usually you have to strip the house down to studs and then encapsulate all the wood, and then you can rebuild the house. But someone has to tell you at what degree that happens. So is it taking it down to studs? Is it certain areas that need to be addressed? And you'll have to go through that whole process. So you might not be able to live back in your house, even if it's standing.
So is that going to be a process and how would the insurance, like?
If you have fire insurance, then you'd have to go to the insurance company and say, okay, my house is standing. What are my next steps? And then they normally walk you through it.
Okay.
But on average, LA County, you're going to have at least 8 to 12 months just to get the environmental.
Just to get the environmental done.
Just to get it done to where you'll probably get a permit.
But you think they'll like make things happen a little faster? Because
I know, and I think a lot of people they've been asking me this. I think if this was like 10 homes, yes. Mm-hmm. But 10,000 or 100,000 homes, the municipalities, they don't have the capabilities to do all this quickly.
Yeah.
So, and there's not going to be a blanket argument that's like, yeah, just fill in your paperwork, send it to me, and then we'll get it approved. They're going to have to still go the same process. So they're going to have to hire people or outsource it. And then, you know, who's going to want to sign it? Because if this thing comes back and it's not the right way or something, you know, lawsuits. I mean, these are people that are worth a lot of money in a lot of places. You know, I think there's going to be a lot of people that don't want to sign. So that's going to hold things up.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that would be problem number one.
So the city might be able to speed through the red tape, but the volume of permits that are going to be needed are going to slow it down.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first people to get it through will go fast. Meaning, like,
how do you get first in line?
Yeah,
that's the question.
Yeah, I mean, like, to the people with the money that don't have to go through insurance and say, hey, I'll deal with insurance later, but I want to get my house started. They might be able to expedite some of this. The problem is who's going to want to go back there?
Yeah.
You know, if your entire city burnt, that means all of your shopping centers, your schools, you know, churches, all that kind of stuff. If you build your house and you're the one house that's being built and everything else now is under construction in your city for the next 3 to 5 years, do you want to be living in a place that's just constantly under construction?
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of those people do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so I think easily half of the people that were living there will never move back. I think so.
So you think they'll just build and sell?
I think they won't even build. I think half the people the insurance company is going to come back to them, pennies on the dollar, and say, you know, your house was underinsured. You've lived there for 30 or 40 years, and your value of your home is way under what it currently is, and the rebuilding cost is super expensive. So I think people will offer them money, and they'll probably just take the money and leave.
So it's like if you have a used car that gets totaled, you're not going to get a brand new car.
No.
The insurance is going to pay for a brand new car. They're going to give you an equivalent car that you had.
Yeah.
And these people are just going to say, well, I'll just take the money and buy a new car in a different location.
Yeah, because the insurance is like this. Your home is a, let's say, 1980s home. It's insured on the value of when you purchase the home, what is it going to cost to rebuild it? And then your insurance company just kind of every year kind of stays within that same thing, but your policy never really changes that much unless you change policyholder. So let's say the house was a $2 million home and you have a rebuild policy of like $1 million, and it's a cheaper insurance. So you're like, yeah, why would I ever, you know, increase my policy? I'm just going to keep that. And then the house burns down. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, well, you got $1 million to rebuild your house, but it's going to cost you $2 million to rebuild it.
Yeah.
So now are you going to come up with the extra $1 million to build it, or are you going to just sell it? And I think that's what a lot of people are going to fall into.
Just sell the land.
They'll
Will they still get paid from the insurance company? Do you know?
I don't know how that works.
At least you get the money from the car.
I know. I had one friend who their house, half of it burnt. And they were offered probably like $800,000 at the time to just walk away from the burnt house.
Yeah.
And I believe they were going to get something from the insurance company, but it wasn't part of the rebuilding. It was, they were getting money from the items in the house. So they could take all of that money plus the money that they were going to get for the house and then just move on.
Okay.
And they just felt like, no, it's like we could get way more if we just finish the house, even if we don't move in.
Yeah.
And they couldn't finish it. The insurance company ran out of money.
Oh, really?
Because their policy maxed out. And they didn't realize how expensive it was going to be to rebuild it. Yeah. Because the other part that a lot of people haven't talked about is, you know, the new building codes are making a lot of these homes more expensive to build. But if your homeowner's insurance doesn't have code upgrade, then you don't pay for that.
The insurance
the insurance company doesn't pay for that. You have to pay for that.
Okay.
So the insurance company is paying to make the house back to what it originally was, not what a new home is.
Yeah.
And that's the problem I think a lot of people have.
So the people would be better off to, if they could front the money, at least build a brand new home and then sell it rather than to just walk away from it.
Oh, yeah. Those people would be in a better position.
Because they'll be fine then.
Well, what's going to happen is they'll pay it. They'll go after the insurance company. Insurance companies will give them whatever chunk of money they're supposed to get.
Yeah.
And even if it's not the whole build cost, and then they'll build it, and then once everything's finished, when they, as long as they can wait for the time, they'll sell their house and they'll be fine. But I mean, look at Lahaina. Lahaina is 3 years right now. And
3 years. The fire was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Was it that long ago?
Was it? Yeah. I want to say this is 2025. What year was Lahaina?
I think it was 2023.
Was it?
I'm not positive. It could have been 2022.
But if you go there, I don't think any construction's really started.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was a conspiracy.
And that's a lot of businesses too. But that's the first thing that has to start are businesses. Wherever the fire took out, I mean, there was a big chunk of not strip malls, but like main streets that basically had a whole bunch of businesses on it.
Yeah, there were a lot of
gone.
businesses and like old businesses.
Yeah.
That was August of 2023 was the Lahaina fires.
Oh, okay. So
two and a half years.
2.5 years. Yeah. So 2.5
You ever
years.
notice Casey's got a little whistle in his
I know.
when his S's? That was
Hey,
August.
Chris.
August.
Hey,
So-
Chris.
So Casey, can you look up what kind of buildings going on in Lahaina? Because I mean, this will give it that, and this is on like a much smaller scale.
Also, Casey, there is a computer there too, if you want to. Right
That's
next to you.
true.
Who uses a computer,
The phone's good.
buddy?
Phone's
I have a magic box that I carry in my pocket. It's
To me, in my
magnificent.
head, I have 10 years.
What? 10
Yeah.
years?
Yeah. I think 10 years before it will seem somewhat normal over there.
Wow.
Yeah, a long
10
time.
years.
Yeah,
I wasn't thinking that long.
yeah, for
so,
sure.
So okay. So then let's go back to that. So
Well, let's think about it, because you have not the entire population that's going to probably move back. So in that area, you're going to have developers come in. You're going to have investors. And they're going to have different agendas.
yeah.
And then the city is going to expedite people that are actually trying to rebuild their home. But investors and other people, they're going to say, wait a second, hold on. What's your intention? What are you doing? So there's going to be multifamily housing that's going to have to be put back, to meet the demand of California.
Yeah.
The businesses, they're going to be under different criterias. And some businesses are going to say, hey, like, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm not coming back. So they have to find new businesses to come in. I think all of that is just going to take time,
Yeah.
So
To break it up, you said you think that the cleanup process is going to take, you said 12 to 18 months. Is that right?
8 to 12 months.
The Lahaina fires for the last 12 months, cleanup crews have been working nonstop to get rid of hazardous materials and make the land ready to build on again.
Yeah, so 12 months.
Some homes have begun construction.
So 2.5 years later, and some homes are starting.
Yeah.
And that's a tourist area where I guarantee Lahaina, the city of Lahaina and the government need that to come back. I mean, and it's still, it's nothing's there. And you think about this is just a city within LA County who, it's, and then Malibu.
So there's more, you're saying there's more urgency there to
I
get
would think
everything
so.
built up because they want to get,
yeah.
they survive on tourism.
I would think so. Now, I'm sure it was very destructive, but at the same time, it was smaller. The Palisade fire was massive.
It was massive, yeah.
As far as amount of homes that were involved, so it's just going to be crazy.
Yeah.
And we're not out of the woods yet.
No, right?
There's still
it's
fires going.
52% contained or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then you got the Eaton fires. So you got Pasadena area.
Yep. All that got burned. And I guess it's all the same. Yeah, it's going to be crazy, the rebuild process. But it's different cities, right? So
Yep.
So they'll be able to kind of handle their construction even though they're close by independently.
Yep.
But 10 years. So we got a year. Let's just call it a year then of cleanup.
Yep.
So we have a year of the cleanup process. Does that include just getting the permits, or does that include everything's clean and now we're ready to build?
Well, yeah. The 8 to 12 normally would be you get the permit and then you probably are a few months of just cleanup, depending on if we're talking about just one home or the whole area. The whole area we're talking probably a whole nother year for them to just go in there and start cleaning everything up. So you're almost 2 years where you feel like, okay, it's just, you see a lot of plots of land but there's no debris sitting there anymore.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know, so then let's say even a year and a half. So a year and a half, you're walking around and there's nothing. And then you got to go to the fact that, okay, I finally got my permit. I'm ready to rebuild. And then that's a year.
A year
From the time you start probably developing or building a home is usually about a year.
Now, could you start doing that during the cleanup process?
Nope.
You can't.
You have to wait.
Well, you can't. But you can start you can't start the permit process or any of that thing.
Well, you can start the permit process, but everything's contingent upon the next part. So they're not gonna, they'll probably say, okay, you have this part submitted, and now you can move on to the next part. It's like, okay, I got my environmentals done. Now can you look over my house and let me know, like, can I build this part back? Because a lot of people aren't going to build the same house anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
They're going to try to maximize their square footage of their house or whatever.
Yeah.
So the cities all have to review that.
Yeah.
And then the infrastructure, if there's infrastructure that's been damaged, like all the power lines, like all those have to be put back before they can build.
Right.
So now, DWP has to go in there and they have to run all their lines. Gas, all have to run probably new gas lines because there's a lot of gas leaks all over that.
So there's city construction that's going to go on as well as the individual homes and stuff like that.
But the city stuff has to come first.
So you think on average probably most homes will start construction 2 years from now? 3 years from now.
My guess would be Palisades you'll start seeing a lot of movement in the Palisades at like 3 years.
At 3 years?
Yeah.
What about like Altadena? And I don't know if
those
Pasadena
probably would
hit.
be closer because it's smaller and I think they fix those a little bit quicker. But the Palisades fire is just so massive.
Yeah, there was less infrastructure damage in Altadena. It was more just homes, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Now who knows? I mean, maybe there's so much spotlight on this whole thing. Maybe the government, the city officials go in there and really start going after it. But I mean,
there's a lot of people that have been displaced. That need their homes back.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody. And we talk about a lot of wealthy people in Palisades, but there were a lot of people, that aren't wealthy whose homes burned down.
There's already not enough homes in the area.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah.
And then topple it with the fact that once things really do get busy and it becomes like a demand for contractors, all the supply chains are going to go crazy.
Right.
So lumber, cement,
they'll go
wire,
up in price.
Oh my gosh, it's going to skyrocket.
Hey, Casey.
You want to get into the wood
Can you throw me
wood business?
LaCroix?
Yes, sir.
It's in the fridge.
Yes, sir. All right, let's see if Pando is still on the softball team. Here we go.
Oh, here we go.
Coach, you watching, Coach?
I'm watching.
All right, here we go.
I can do this. I'm going to try and stay in frame.
Oh, that's going to...
What kind of throw is that? Here, try again.
That was seeing if you're good for first base.
Here we go. All right, here we go.
Oh, there you go.
Oh!
Can't wait for you to open that thing.
It's dented.
I would definitely open a new one. You're going to try?
I'm not very good at these buttons yet.
Wow.
Should I try and open it?
That is good.
Yes, you should definitely try and open it. Please look at your camera, Mike Pando.
I'm going to get into my seat here. Yes, okay.
Look at your camera, please.
Yes.
Thank you. Let's see.
All right, you ready?
Can I wear one of those?
Your fridge is open. Your fridge is open.
Can I wear one of those plastic suits that you get at like SeaWorld?
Yeah, let me run inside, grab one for you there.
Oh my gosh. There's no way that thing is not
I don't think it's going to fit. What do we think? I don't think it's going to go. I think I've waited long enough. What do you think?
Oh, waited long enough?
Yeah.
No, that thing is like.
You think it's going to burst?
Oh,
I'm with Mike Rose on this one.
really?
I think you're getting wet.
dude, that thing is foaming over your fingers.
It didn't really open, though. It did open, but you heard it.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that doesn't count. Dude, that's not even open.
It's open. Look.
That's not open.
Look.
I did. I heard it. That shocks me.
But it's not opening all the way.
Yeah.
It's coming out.
Cheater.
Man, I don't know how that happened, but I thought for sure that was going to spray all over you.
It was my soft toss to first base.
Look at that thing.
I'm afraid I'm
look at
gonna-
how much it's... It's bowed out.
I'm gonna cut my finger. There we go.
Oh, there you go. You got it. Perfect.
Cheers. We're
Cheers.
back. We are back.
We're back. We made it.
All right. Let's get smart for a second. Where were we?
Yeah, I think the other part is we're gonna have supply chain issues where the cost is just gonna go up. Excuse me. Similar to what we saw in COVID.
You think so? But
Except reverse.
Just
COVID
here,
was they
though.
couldn't produce it enough. In this case, it's just going to be the demand is so high that it's going to cause the pricing to go up just because they can.
yeah,
You know,
because they can.
I think just because they can.
Yeah.
And then contractors too. I think like across the board.
So they'll have enough supply.
Yeah.
But because it's in such high demand, they know they can charge more for it.
And for some reason, I feel like we're not going to get a lot of help from our administration in California keeping those costs
low. No,
I don't know that the California can do anything about it. It'd have to be a federal thing.
They would have to come in and put a cap. I mean, I don't see how they could. I mean, if that happens, it's just. I mean, labor's going to go through the roof too.
Yeah.
You know.
You don't, in my opinion, you don't really want. Well, let's not get into that.
Yeah.
I will just finish off what I was going to say.
Okay,
In my opinion, you don't really want government getting involved in that. But it does suck that we will have high prices. But that's a free economy, supply and demand.
Yep.
And so it is what it is. Maybe you would say, well, maybe the government can subsidize it a little bit and help people out, whose homes were burned. But if they have more money in the pockets, the people who are supplying the lumber are going to go, there's more money in their pockets, let's charge more money. So
Yeah.
I just don't see how that solves the problem.
I just think that the market on lumber and concrete and copper, so I mean it's monopolized for the most part,
It is.
Yeah, I mean
You would
think
know
of,
that more than anyone else.
Well, just like you look at some of the big concrete companies, Cemex, Robertson, A&A, and National. So those are what, 4?
Yeah.
And that pretty much dominates, at least in California.
Uh-huh.
So,
Well, there's your problem.
well, right there. I mean,
Yeah.
you think about like you needing concrete.
Yeah.
And some of those guys get government contracts. So they're doing the highways or freeways. And then all of a sudden you put on top of it like, we got, 100 homes out in the Palisades that we're going to be working on.
Yeah.
And then the streets. And next thing you know, other people that are trying to use them or other people, it just becomes, well, if you want us,
Price
you're going to have to
gouging.
pay for us now.
Well, maybe they will be a little less, no?
I mean, I think
because of what happened, they might be like,
I just
"All
think
right."
people are going to find this as like a way to capitalize.
Yeah.
And especially in this industry,
Yeah.
be like, right now it's a slower time. It was election year. We have high inflation. We went through COVID. So COVID was like demand was high. But at the same time, it was scarcity to get people just because there was a lot of people that retired during COVID in our industry. And then it was hard to get good people.
You didn't have the supply.
And you didn't
either.
have the supply.
So even if they had the money and wanted to spend it
Yep.
to build something, you could only build so much because the lumber wasn't
Well, it wasn't
readily available.
Yeah, like windows and doors, it was hard to get. It was like
Yeah.
long lead times. It took appliances like a year to get to you.
Yeah.
And then they figured that part out. We got that figured out. And then all of a sudden, wages wanted to go up. People were like, well, like inflation, everything's so expensive. I need to get paid more money.
Yeah.
So subcontractors and employees, like everyone, it went up. So the pricing on materials started to kind of come down, but it never came back to normal. And then labor went up. So it's like now we're at this like higher threshold for everything in construction. And then I think this is just going to
Take it over the top.
I think so.
But
Not right
temporarily.
now. It's going to take some time, but from now and then 2 years later, I think after 2 years, it's going to go crazy again.
So maybe the construction is some sort of construction related business is a good investment right now.
Probably.
I hate to say that in a time when people are
I know.
struggling and they're losing their homes.
I mean, trust me, it's a horrible thing. And this is not good really for anyone.
Yeah.
But the reality is though, the industry, it's just, no one wants to get into construction anyways.
Yeah.
Everything is tech, computer, something, and it's hard to find good people
Yeah.
in this industry. So I think there will be a influx of like maybe some younger people that come in and say, okay, maybe I want to get into the trades or start up a new company. And I mean, man, the cleanup crews are going to make a ton of money out there.
The cleanup crews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the demolition companies, you watch, man, they're going to be the first ones to be raking in the money.
Wow. Yeah. I bet.
You know, like
Yeah.
you just need big crews. And then when you're there, it'll be like, hey, my neighbor, you know, wants your number. And then boom, boom, boom. It's just going to be like that.
Right.
You know?
So, so back to the timeline. So you're saying on average 3 years before a home starts actually construction. So we've got a year to a year and a half of cleanup and environmental permitting, and then we've got just the permitting process, architecture, all the stuff that has to get pre-planned to build the home. Right, another year to a year and a half. So you're looking at 2 to 3 years.
Well, I think the environmental, you know, that 8 to 12 months, and then you'll probably have your plans at the city at the same time you submitted your environmentals. But the environmentals will take that long to probably get approval. Yeah. But hopefully that time period after that to your permits will only be 6 months or shorter. Normally it would be like almost 12 months.
It would, yeah.
And I think they'll try to shrink that down. But again, it's only if they can handle it.
Right, because they're going to have so many plans coming through, applications.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, applications. Yeah, all the submittals.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And
then a year of building, minimum.
So then, that's what I was going to say. So then how long does it take to build? You're building, for the most case, will people be building from the ground up, or do you think they'll try and salvage some of it?
I think the fire was so bad. I think most of them are going to tell them, you can't save your slab, so we're going to have to scrape everything. I think a lot of builders don't want to work with old stuff. It's just easier and quicker to just start over, but not cheaper.
Right.
So, and then once you scrape it, you know, I don't know what they're going to do. Like all the tax incentives go away once you start a brand new home. So I'd be curious to see what happens with that, because all these people that burnt their house down and then have to rebuild it, you know, is the county going to come back and reassess all of those homes, and your property tax now is going to go up to current value?
Is that normally what happens when you build a home?
That's what happens.
They reassess it because you're starting from the ground up.
Yeah, that, you know, like you would always hear people say, "Hey, I want to tear my house down but leave a wall." Yeah. The whole reason was for the county assessor's office. They would look at it as a remodel, so you only get taxed on the cost of your construction. So if
your home's 20 or 30 years old, you get if it costs to build a new home, if it costs $500,000, you're only taxed, you're reassessed for that $500,000. They don't bring the value of the land up from the last 30 years.
They don't appraise the property.
They don't. Okay.
Yeah, they just go, okay, your permit was for $500,000 remodel. So your house was valued at $1 million before, now it's valued at $1.5 million. That's what your taxes will get adjusted to. But if you scrape your house down, it basically goes into a reassessment. So they go, okay, well, now the house you were starting over. You're not leaving anything. So whatever the assessed value is by the county, that is what your property tax is going to be based on now. You're not grandfathered into anything.
So with that in mind, I would imagine, there's probably a lot of new homes were burned in Palisades.
I would think so. Yeah, one of the guys on the news said he just finished building his house after 2 years, and then it just burnt down.
But I would imagine with that in mind that most people then would try to salvage a wall and a slab so that they don't have to be...
But it's not going to be up to them.
It won't be.
It will be up to the environmental.
Wow.
Yeah, they will say...
That's rough.
Yeah.
So then it really does change then what you're going to do. So it's going to be hard to come up with plans if you don't know what the permit office is going to say about your... Is that the right to say that? What the environmental people are going to say about your land if it's about your... I fucked this all up. Where do I start over from? Like, give me a nuclear bomb sound. We got them all.
Are you dumb?
Those are all our
stupid,
sound
or dumb?
effects. Dumb. All right. Let's see if I can get this correct.
Okay.
So I don't even remember what I was saying.
About the environmentalists?
Oh no, I know what I was going to say. What I
Okay.
was saying. So people are going to have a difficult time even submitting their plans because they won't know until they hear from the environmental office whether they have to build a brand new home or they could use the existing slab.
Yeah, and when you do a new house, you get into grading issues. You have to get soil engineers involved.
Because it's going to be all new codes.
Right, everything. So once you have an old home, and you take that home out, you demo it. The first part is you have to get grading involved, and then they'll look at the soil, and a soil engineer will tell you, are you allowed to rebuild on this current soil, or do you have to grade it, turn it over, compact it, raise the soil level? Maybe it's sitting too low, like a lot of the homes in Malibu maybe have to be raised up. So all of that will have to be figured out outside of the environmental. So it'll be like environmental is just to clean it up. And then the second part is, okay, can we just rebuild on this area? What can we leave? But the cities have gotten smart too. They now realize that people can't just leave a wall. Now they do percentages. So if you demo 70% of your house, it will be considered a new build.
Oh, really?
Because they don't want people just leaving a wall and then not putting fire sprinklers in or not raising the level. So they just basically are saying at some point you're just starting over.
Yeah.
So
those were loopholes that people were using to build a new home and not have it reappraised.
Yep. Yeah. So now I think you just look at Palisades. I think they're going to use like a blanket argument. Be like, okay, I think the cities are going to come in and say, this is what we expect every home to have. Like give us like a full set of plans with soil engineering, with your grading, with all this stuff. And then we will try to expedite those. And then they'll just like pass them out to like subcontractor firms to like approve them. But I don't know how long that's going to take for them to actually get in place. Yeah. And that's why I say I think the first year is going to be working the bugs out with everyone, homes and businesses. And then hopefully they'll be working on infrastructure during that time, but I doubt it. I think it's going to be a year for them to
fix the city infrastructure, like the electrical and
the gas lines and just figuring out like what they have to fix.
A lot of hazardous waste cleanup.
All that stuff. Yeah. I think that will be, just putting things back so people can actually start investing in homes again.
So you think this whole process is going to take 3 years on average before, like, maybe you'll see some homes start to pop up, but the bulk of the construction is going to start to happen 3 years from now.
Yeah.
And then that construction is going to vary.
I think that's going to go from 3 to almost 10 years.
So tack on an additional 7.
Yep.
Because it'll take that long to get, because there's not everybody can build at one time. There's only so much to go around.
I just think what's going to happen is the people who want to move back and have decided I want to live there, those are the people that are going to go back really quickly. And then there's going to be a whole bunch of people who are like, I'm going to wait. I want to see what's going to happen. How long are they going to take to start reinvesting money back into businesses? And then you have a third party who are just, I'm out. They're like, I'm moving on. And then investors or third parties come in, and then those people are going to have different agendas, and then what's going to happen. And so I think there's going to be like plots of land for like after that 3 years, like for the next 7 years, there's going to be plots of land, and then people shuffling it around. Like, I sold it to you, and that person be like, well, I realize it's expensive to build, so I'm just going to hold on to the land. And then I'm going to wait, and I'm going to let, because the last person to build's going to spend the most money.
You think so?
It's always like that.
Okay.
So even in a tract home, when you buy the first development, you bought it at a discounted price.
Sure, right.
And as the developments, and that's basically, to me, Palisades is going to be like that. At some point, some developers or multiple developers are going to go in there and start buying up land and then not do anything with it.
That's the very first thing I thought of. Somebody's just going to go in there and buy up all the plots that people want to get rid of.
And so then they'll wait to do anything until all this frenzy's died down.
Oh, yeah.
And then the prices will come down again.
Well, they're not worried about the pricing going down. What they're going to go in and buy, but they don't want to just build a house right now and it sit and then them sell it because no one else has built yet. So they're going to wait for all the homes to start coming back. And then when they build it, their home's worth more money.
Okay.
So the private sector is going to want to go at like all the people that actually own their home. I think
want to live there again.
They're going to want to they're going to want to move in as quick as possible.
Right, yeah.
And they'll probably get better deals. And the longer you wait, I think it's going to get more and more expensive because the cost of the home is going to be worth more. Once infrastructure is back and, but I just don't think the Palisades is ever going to be like the Palisades that most people remembered it.
Why?
Because of developers and people putting multifamily homes in and people putting a lot of ADUs in, and I just don't think it's going to be the same place.
So you think that they'll move, the developers will buy stuff and let's say they buy one plot of land where a home used to exist, they'll put a multifamily home on that.
Yeah, or just like businesses that were there, different businesses move in, which and then the people that were there, they move out, and it attracts a different type of clientele, maybe. Like right now it's people that want to live there, and it's people that are investors that are looking at like a way to cash in.
It just seems like such a nice area, though.
I know.
Like I can't imagine it not being 10 years from now a nice area.
Well, it'll still be nice. No, don't get me wrong. It's gonna be like Palisades is gonna be beautiful, but it's just I hope it doesn't end like this, but I feel like it could turn into like a tract development.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of every home there is individualized and unique.
Yeah. I mean, if a developer goes in there, he's not going to build 20 different homes.
Yeah.
He's going to go in there and build models that are very similar because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
That would be my guess.
I just don't know. In my opinion, I just don't know that is an area where a developer can go in and maximize their dollars by building a cookie cutter home. I don't think that the people that are going to go there and buy are going to pay top dollar for a cookie cutter home there. So a developer could go and do that and build a cookie cutter home. Yeah. That every single home looks the same. I just don't know that it will sell for top dollar. It seems to me like, well, if you're going to go into an area like that and buy, why would you go in and if I have an economy car that I'm selling, why am I going to go into Beverly Hills and try and sell that economy car? They're buying expensive cars.
That's why I think they'll wait.
Yeah, the developers.
Yeah.
To see what happens with the community and how things, because they might realize that they have to build unique homes because that's all that's going to sell there if everybody moves in and starts spending money again.
Yeah, I mean, if people realize, hey, it's going to cost me $2 million or more to rebuild my home, and the insurance company is going to pay me, $1 million or so, and this land developer is going to pay me 1.5, and I don't have to do anything. I just walk away. I'm just going to take my insurance money and take the 1.5, and I'm out of here. And that developer now just saved himself almost $1 million. So getting it from 2.5. So now he's like, I'll just sit and wait. And I think a lot of those guys are going to wait around and wait for the housing market to come back in those areas, and then build the home. And they'll call them spec homes, so they won't be tract homes. Yeah. They'll build spec homes, and then people that just want to live in the Palisades in a new home and don't want to have to go through that, they'll come in and buy it. But that's why I say that the Palisades market is just going to go bonkers.
Well, I just wonder, like, if the people who live in the Palisades, I would imagine, probably have the money to go, all right, so my insurance is only paying me $1 million, which is probably, their homes are probably more like $5 million. Yep. And so they're paying me $4 million on my $5 million home, but I have the money to pay the extra $5 million, and I know in the long run I'm going to end up getting it back because the value of my home is going to go up. Yeah. It's a hit that I'm taking now, but I'll be better off keeping it rather than going and moving to, I'm sure people have kids and families. That's where they lived. And
yeah, but you're looking at it from an investment standpoint.
No, I'm looking at it from like if I lived there, and I had the money to live there, right? And it costs a lot of money to live there. Yeah. So if my home burned down, and I had the money to rebuild it, I would probably rebuild it rather than to just take some investors' lowball offer or sell my land at less money and then bail out and go find a home in Santa Monica or Beverly Hills.
Yeah, but how long? The question would be is how long are you willing to wait for that? So let's say you can go build it tomorrow. You're not gonna want to move in there. There's nothing around you. Yeah. You're gonna be looking at plots of land. And then you're going to be listening to jackhammering and trucks driving by. So I think people that are worth quite a bit of money,
We'll just go find a place they can live.
Yeah, and even if they don't sell the property, that's still then a one property that's just sitting in a vacant lot.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like the Palisades is going to be like that. It's just going to be like, oh, this person got their home rebuilt, and then 7 houses down, we have another house, and then, 6 houses down, there's another house, and then there's just plots of land, and it's like that person's not sure if they're moving back. Oh, that land, I think, got sold to this developer, and I don't know what he's going to build here. I think there's going to be a lot of that, and that's why I say the Palisades is not going to feel like the Palisades for like 10 years, because until all those homes start coming back, the people with the money, I don't think are going to want to live under construction.
Yeah.
Even if they have the money to rebuild it, they'll just be like, why would I want to live here? My kids can't play on the street.
Mm-hmm.
Like the school's burnt down. I got to wait for the school to get rebuilt. The supermarket we went to, that's burnt down. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I can move back here, but for what? And that's why I think that it just takes people forget, like, it takes so long to just get everything back and running,
And so a lot of people are just going to want to move on with their lives.
Yeah. And people will be
sense.
I could afford to move back. I can afford to rebuild it. I have the money, but what, like, I'm going to get a normal life in 10 years or 8 years.
Yeah. My kids will be, in some cases, grown and
like, maybe I'll keep the land, but I'm definitely moving on with my life. I was talking to a realtor, and a lot of people are already moving to Newport. Like there's a big push for people. Yeah. Newport, Santa Monica. I think like
Palisades South. They start calling it
the Palisades South.
Kidding.
But I feel like that will be more the norm. And you're right. I don't think it's a money issue for them. I think it's a lifestyle issue.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sure. And that's the sad part, because it will just take a long time.
Yeah.
And sadly, I mean, anything government related is going to take a long time too. So all the infrastructure, I can't see them just like jumping on this and knocking it out, you know?
It's so crazy, like the devastation that happened, and to think, like when you look at it, it's one thing, and it certainly looks like a nuclear bomb went off in some areas. But like when you really think about what we're talking about and what the road is ahead,
it's
even more devastating.
Yeah, it's hard to fathom the concept of how much really burnt.
Yeah.
Until you look at it and you just go, man, there's so much that has to be rebuilt here.
Have you been up there at all? I've just seen pictures.
I've just seen pictures too.
Casey tried to drive up there. Did you ever?
Is it? It's blocked off though, right?
I'm waiting a little while before I go drive up through there, but I'm gonna go up there definitely and do a little photo trip and just see what I could see and check out the lay of the land at some point.
Yeah, it's gonna be nuts though.
Yeah.
And then I feel bad for the people that don't have the money, because insurance is the worst to deal with, especially in something like this, because they're just taking huge losses.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's going to be bad.
I don't know a lot of places that were burned outside of the Palisades and Altadena. I have friends from just that I've being in the TV industry that lived there that had their homes burned down. Not close friends, but people that associates. And obviously if you own a home, you've got some sort of money, but you're not, everybody's not necessarily rolling in the money. So I don't know what they'll be able to do for that timeline, that 10 years of their lives is going to be difficult for them they're just going to, I guess, have to uproot and move on. I don't know.
I don't know either.
But do you think it'll take 10 years, and even in an area like that where people are going to be more inclined to like, I want to build and get back into my home?
No, I think you'll start seeing a lot of movement like after that 3-year mark.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I mean, it's the question is, even at that 3-year mark, how quickly are things moving? Like if I was living there, I know, okay, for the next 3 years, I got to find another place to live and then deal with the rebuilding over there. But at 3 years, I would evaluate, okay, well, have they started putting back the grocery store? Is the kids' school getting rebuilt? Is all of that in motion, or is it still like fenced up, boarded off? Because, at that point, if you're going to invest, $2.5 million to build a home, I would want to know that other people are investing too.
Yeah.
So it's around the same time frame. Otherwise, you just build it, and I wouldn't want to live in an area that's just being redeveloped.
Yeah.
It's just, it's noisy. It's noisy. You got a lot of construction guys, working, and dust, and it's just not fun.
Yeah.
So
It's a tough road.
Tough road for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You know, outside of the money and everything else, I feel like it's just going to be it's going to be a long journey for those people.
Yeah. Well,
What do we got on the list?
I think that's about it. I think we covered it all. I feel like we're kind of ending a little bit on a negative note.
I know.
You know?
I know. You know, because it's hard to be positive in this case because the outcome of this was so great.
Yeah.
You know, it impacted so many people.
Yeah.
You know, having your house burned down is one thing that's horrible, but to have every single house that you know in the community to burn down is, man, it's just like unfathomable.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is.
I can't even imagine what that would be like. You know, you go visit your house and everything's gone.
Gosh, yeah, and
You
like
know?
there's some things just you know, you can't replace. You know, all these pictures that we take now are on our phones, but I have hundreds, if not thousands, of pictures in my attic. You know, that are from my childhood. You know, and there's no record of those at all. They'd be gone. I mean, photos, I guess, are the least of worries. You know, I guess you hope that people didn't lose anything. You know, like a pet or anything like that. But
a loved one or something.
One, yeah. Thankfully, there weren't very many deaths.
That's good.
But yeah, I guess you're right. There really is no positive to take you know, from it other than we're moving forward.
Yeah, maybe the positive out of this is going to be, I think insurance hopefully will get rectified through this whole thing of how insurance is written and what they cover, and then how to protect your home in a fire. Maybe if you're by a wooded area or something, you know, like even the windows, there are fire rated windows that you can get, but not all areas tell you that you have to have fire rated windows, and that's one thing that would help you too, because the fire won't break the window under heat and then allow the fire to transfer in.
Oh, okay.
You know, maybe the ventilation that we were talking about, like getting the ventilation to be able to close down during fires, so the wind and the embers don't go in the attic. Maybe some of that will be more fireproofed.
Okay, yeah.
You know, in those areas.
They'll figure out ways to, you know, stop the fire from spreading at such a high rate.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, it didn't seem like there was much they could do with the winds going so.
No, I know.
85, 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. And you know, the sad part is, and this has nothing to do with the wildfires, but, you know, all the new homes have fire sprinklers in them.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I talk to people that I don't think understand how fire sprinklers work, but the fire sprinkler is not there to save your house. The fire sprinkler is there to save your neighbor's house.
Huh.
So.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. The fire sprinkler will total your house because the water damage is massissive.
Okay.
You know, fire sprinklers, they just spray and they destruct the whole house.
It will save it from burning down.
They will. Yeah. They basically, the idea is that you get about 6 to 10 minutes for the fire trucks to get to the house to contain the fire so it doesn't spread to your neighbor's house.
Okay.
But
it also saves the lives of the people who are in there. If there's
oh,
some
yes.
reason
Yeah.
they're sleeping.
Yeah. So even in this case, the fire sprinklers wouldn't have saved really any of those homes.
It wouldn't have, yeah.
Well, it wouldn't have, I mean, because the spread was really just so massive. It just blew over streets and, you know, so
might have saved the home that the sprinklers went off in, but not the ones next to it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I've heard about sprinklers on top of the roof. Is there such a thing, or that that wet the roof down?
Yeah, there's guys that have done this, but I've never seen anything that's been like mass produced where you can actually go buy it. I think those are guys who have invented it for themselves.
Okay, yeah.
You know,
it's
but
not
maybe
something that's for sale.
Maybe that's something that might be more mandatory though.
Yeah, because if you could wet down the roof, then quite possibly it wouldn't damage the whole house, and it might stop any sort of embers from.
For sure, yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, all those roofs now are going to have to be tile roofs. They're going to be flame retardant.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to want everything to be fire safety. You know, everything's going to have like a 1 hour burn rating, you know.
Oh, well, what's a 1 hour burn rating?
You know, like where it can withstand an hour before it will completely burn out.
Oh, okay.
You know, or burn through.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, like the James Hardy boards, you know, the tile roofs, the stucco, all of that tends to hold back the fire from just igniting the house. So maybe all those will be more mandatory in those areas.
For those who aren't tuning into your Instagram, let's talk a little bit about some of the safety. We did an Instagram video that talked a little bit about some of the safety things you can do with your house. You'd mentioned that here a second ago.
Yeah.
The embers getting into the attic. Tell me a little bit about that and the ventilation in your roof and how you can.
Yeah. Okay. So if you have a fire next door, generally the fire is going to start from inside the attic or from the rooftop.
So so what happens? How does the fire get from next door onto my house?
Usually, the embers are burning off and they're landing on the house, and then over time, it basically just ignites maybe the wood shingles or
But
something
if I
like
have
that.
a tile roof,
If you have a tile roof, at least that it's not going to burn the tile. It's
so then the embers go into the attic.
yeah. So if you have ventilation for your attic space, so you have dormer vents which are on the top, and then you have eave vents which are on the bottom. And the idea is that the hot air is drawn from the bottom and then it gets exhausted out through the top, and it keeps the attic cool, and it basically allows air movement up there. But the fire will also bring that warm air in
And the embers?
with the embers.
Okay.
And then if you're up in the attic, it will start a fire, and then it's hard to know that you have a fire in there, and all of a sudden smoke just starts traveling through the house. And at that point, it's really just too late,
Once it's in the attic, yeah.
Yeah,
Gosh,
yeah.
there's so much flammable stuff up there.
It's just
The
your attic
insulation
is it's hot already,
Yeah.
and then it's dry wood. The insulation itself usually isn't that flammable because
Okay.
it's fiberglass, but there's paper backing that can light on fire. So, but it's usually just the wood. The wood will start to get engulfed, and then it kind of takes it out. So.
There's a lot of airflow, so the fire got fuel, I guess, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. So if you can choke it off, and if there's a fire going in there, if there's a way to close up those eaves, so the vents are basically closed off, and no embers are getting in the attic, the only thing you really have to worry about is the brush around your house. And that's why I think a lot of people are trying to hose down the house and keep the house wet. And that way, at least the house itself doesn't want to ignite, and then it's just the brush around it. But it's just, to me.
So real quick though.
Yeah.
So you're saying that if there's a fire in my house, that what I can do to help save my house is to close off those eaves.
Yeah.
So that no embers can fly into the attic.
Yeah.
And then how would I close those off? What would be the best way to do that?
You just need something non-flammable. So if you have attic space, you could go in there and put some sheet metal, like just screw some sheet metal on there just so it stops the wind. There's I think rock salt, which is like a wool material. It's an insulation. Just go in and shove those in some of the lower eaves.
Okay.
It's just something to stop the air movement from coming in.
Okay.
That it's not flammable. So not cotton or rags or anything like that.
So people can either run down to Home Depot and buy the
Yeah.
stuff, like if they hear a fire's coming, or
Totally.
you can get some and just keep it in the attic as a backup in case the fire breaks out.
Yeah, and maybe this might be something that
like
comes up later in the next couple of years of ways to prevent fire from getting into the attic. I'm not sure, but it sounds like it could be a good idea.
Right. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff for people to know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get my sheet metal.
just start boarding it up.
Well, have it there. It's not a bad idea. Have it there, and ready to go.
Yeah.
My luck, I'll go and my damn screw gun will be dead.
Right.
The battery will be dead.
Yeah, that would probably be everyone's situation.
Yeah. But the fire's coming, charge this sucker.
That's like having flashlights around, and then when the power goes out, all the flashlights have no batteries.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's just who walks around and like checks their flashlights. I
know. That's
Dude,
why
batteries are expensive.
they are, right?
I know.
That's why it's good to have those flashlights that go into like a socket,
Oh yeah,
and
so
it
they're always
charges them.
charged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
But I have a question. Okay,
Yeah.
so if your house was the house that was left standing, would you rather have that or the house that burned down?
I would rather have the house that's left standing.
Because of the
I thought about this
sentimentals?
while
Okay.
while we were having this conversation. That thought went through my mind because I was like, well, do I really just want it there at all? But yeah, because of the sentimentals.
But imagine you can't live there, and everything in the house is ruined with smoke damage.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to lose some of those things that are sitting in my attic. Occasionally I'll go up there for Christmas, and I'll be like, "Oh my goodness, Gavin, come here! Look at your dad when he was 20. I had a full head of hair."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh God, I gotta look at these."
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
It was rich and luxurious.
Yeah, I feel I'm probably with you on that. I just would hate the arguments with the insurance company of like, well, your house is fine, but really it's almost like the house that burnt down, but the smoke damage has
And now
ruined
they're not
it.
gonna pay for it.
Yeah, now you have this house that is inundated with smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you keep everything boarded up, I mean, it's just, like you've been at a campfire.
Yeah.
It's just, it gets everywhere.
All right. Yeah.
And now your whole house smells like a campfire, and the insurance company is like, we'll just paint it, and
Yeah.
dealing with the insurance company. And so
You'll
it'll
have
just be
that
rough.
smell there forever.
Forever. Yeah. Where if it's just burnt down, there's just no question, I need my house rebuilt. So I think there's going to be a lot of those people too that, their house was standing,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like, maybe they're on the outskirts of where all the house is burnt. But
Yeah.
think of all those homes too.
Yeah.
For, what was it, 13 days or something of smoke?
Yeah. I know. That's so true.
Where you had your house closed up
Yeah.
and you're 2 blocks over. But I mean, we're way down here and we had
Yeah.
ash like crazy. Could you imagine being right next door to that stuff? Your house is not touched, but you have smoke damage everywhere.
Yeah, it's covered with ash everywhere.
Yeah.
And the insurance companies aren't even going to go near those people. They're like, "You're fine."
You're our last thought.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's still going to be an insurance claim.
It will.
I would imagine, right?
You try. I don't know. I've never heard of people like saying, "Hey,
I got
my
smoke
house
damage.
smells like smoke."
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, what happens? What happens with those people in insurance?
I think probably in that case, maybe I would rather just have it burned down.
Yeah.
Do I really want to lose the value of my home for a picture of me with a full head of hair? Nah, I don't.
Yeah.
But those are the things that I have, and there might be things that are of more value to other people.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would suck to lose the pictures, but I could go without them. Maybe I can get some sort of container, not necessarily safe, but something that would be fireproof.
Yeah.
To put some of those things, so that way that if there is a fire, that those things don't get destroyed. That would be a good idea, regardless of.
Do you have one of those yet?
No.
No. Yeah.
do you?
No. I need to get one.
Where would you put it? I guess you could still put it in, but then it's so heavy.
The garage.
The garage?
Just put it in the garage.
Yeah.
Just get one of those ones that are encased in concrete, so they're fire rated.
Yeah.
And just store all your valuables in there.
Encase it inside your garage, in the ground.
No. They just it's bolted to the slab, but the fireproof ones, they have concrete around them.
Oh, okay.
It looks metal, but it has concrete in the middle.
It does. Okay.
So they can withstand the fire.
Okay. It won't melt or anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I think the one I have is, it's fire rated for 20 minutes.
Oh, really?
That thing will just melt like crazy. Yeah.
Sounds sufficient to keep your toupee safe.
Yeah. So that's a good idea. Maybe that's something to look at.
Yeah. Maybe everyone needs a fire safe in their house.
How much do those cost?
I think a good one's probably $600.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say 6,000. Literally.
Oh
when you
well,
said
they have
six.
They have huge ones you can get. Probably.
I
Yeah.
don't need anything that big. I've got
I mean,
a
just
bin of stuff.
some jewelry.
My old yearbooks. You have
Yeah,
your
yearbooks in there.
Yeah.
But
Right off the bat, we got anywhere from
What do we got?
$125 to $2,000.
2000.
So it spans the gamut.
And how long will they last in a fire? Did they say?
You'll have to give me a moment on that one, sir.
Because you would need it to last, what, maybe an hour or two at least?
Let's see. This one
I would say longer
here
than that. You're not going to get it.
says
The house is going to burn down.
But I mean, how long would you think it takes for a house to burn? Probably 2 hours?
This one here
yeah.
says a fire rated at 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes.
Yeah, see, 30 minutes.
1,400 degrees, though.
Right. So maybe the peak of the fire, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then hopefully you get it out.
Yeah. What more can you do than that? I mean,
That's true.
it's like if it gets through that, then maybe you just weren't meant to have it.
Yeah, maybe. What would you grab?
I was going to say you could put it in a storage unit, but then what if the storage unit burns down?
I know.
How about
No
plan that the fire's coming, get your pictures, and put them in your car, and then drive,
drive?
away
You know, it's-
in your car?
It's funny. The guy I was telling you about, who's one of the guys I know whose house burned down. When the fires hit, he heard there was going to be an evacuation, so they just went home and they're like, they didn't think their house was going to burn down, but they wanted to get out of the area because they figured it was going to be a mad rush. There's going to be some sort of problems or whatever, and they had animals, so they got their animals. They packed an overnight bag and left, and then there was an evacuation order, and their house burned down. So they had nothing.
Yeah.
Like all their clothes, like everything, gone. You know, they didn't have any time to go in and grab anything. They just figured they were going to be gone for a night or two.
Yeah.
So to that case, you don't necessarily always have time to go and say, I'm going to grab my box of old pictures.
Yeah.
I think that was good stuff today. You know, we might not necessarily have come up with any sort of solution to anything, but it feels like we came up with some clarity. At least you provided me with some clarity, and hopefully the viewers out there with some.
Maybe if anything, it's just, to give some perspective, and if you have, I guess, expectations of how this is going to go out, just minimize those and know that it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
For all of it, and see if you can just move on with life as best as possible in the meantime, and try to find the bright side somewhere.
I do think that people really just want to kind of know, like, what is the process?
Yeah.
What is in front of me? The unknown oftentimes can be the scariest part.
Sure. And even if they know it's going to take 3 years, at least they know.
Yeah.
And I know there's going to be a lot of people that are probably going to tell them, in a year we're going to start building. And maybe that's true for some people, but I'm just saying the average person, we're probably looking at 3 years before you're going to start really seeing a lot of development out there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's good stuff.
Yeah, it was good stuff, man. Hey, once again, if you guys like these videos and you want to see more of them, please hit the thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and leave us some comments. Let us know what else you guys want us to talk about over here. And we'll see you on the next video. Thanks.
Hey, Mike.